hop on in. Shouldn't find too much. With some good probe walking, you can save just about every probe here, and we do see the Stalker getting chronoed out as quickly as possible. A little bit of lost mining time, but really, I'd be surprised if this Reaper got more than 2, maybe 3 probe kills at the worst.
Yeah, if he can get 3, I'd be happy with that. It doesn't look like it, just the 2 go down. Guys, I know I swapped scene a little bit late. I'm really struggling here, I'm sorry. We do have a Widow Mine coming out here from Ziggy, and he is continuing to make a couple of Reapers. So if the Stalker were to leave, which it is not, Ziggy could end up in a good position. He doesn't throw away the Reaper, which is nice. He is going to keep this Reaper probably more to get as much vision and information as possible. In the early game, the only thing you missed was this proxy Rax. I swapped it before the damage was done. We do have the siege tanks, it looks like, are going to start being produced here yet from Ziggy, who does have that tech lab here onto his factory. And Ziggy's position isn't good by any means because he doesn't have a natural or anything yet, but he's not out of the game. He's not dead.
No, definitely not. This is still anybody's game. Way too early to call anything like that. Twilight Council going to finish up here for ShaDoWn very quickly. Might be for Blink. Yeah, Blink coming down behind this. Exactly what you predicted, Grant, and the Robo right behind it. But look at this. A bit of a change up from Ziggy, who's getting a tech lab onto that starport. And we're going to see, well, I was going to say we're going to see Cloaked Banshees, but he might just be faking it. I don't see a Banshee coming out yet, Grant. Ah, there it is. Okay, never mind. He's not faking it.
And nothing's been scouted, actually, of the main of Ziggy. So Ziggy has been able to keep everything hidden. The only thing that is known about so far is that there are most likely siege tanks being produced. We are seeing the swap over now with the barracks going to land on the tech lab to most likely begin upgrades and things like that. Stim should be coming in here for Ziggy. Cloak is now halfway down. The Banshee getting close to be done. I imagine we will see 2 Banshees coming out here. There is also a Widow Mine, which I believe is just sitting defensively, yeah, in the middle of the map.
Yep, everything standard so far from Ziggy, and just with a little surprise of Cloaked Banshees. It has been a lot of time since we saw those Cloaked Banshees coming out. I don't know that I've seen a single Cloaked Banshee yet in any of our series in DreamHack, Grant. Maybe one Braddock game on day number 1, but it has been an awful long time since we've seen a Terran player really dig into Cloaked Banshees. They're just so easily counterable these days. As soon as they're spotted, which they are immediately by this probe, ShaDoWn should have no trouble. Yeah, Observer already almost finished up, and these Stalkers here to defend. ShaDoWn shouldn't take too much damage at all, and he's feeling very confident. Look at that, third base getting dropped in the face of imminent danger.
Yeah, this is, it's looking very good for ShaDoWn. That Proxy Reaper just didn't find quite enough. There was no follow-up behind it. Usually if you're going to do something like that, then you either have to go for a very quick CC behind it, or you have to just all-in. In terms of an all-in, I'm not seeing anything coming. We do have a Raven coming out from Ziggy, but I very much... Is a second Raven? No, it is a first. I very much imagine that is just to deal with any Colossus that were to come out. It could also be used as a defensive tool. He's not going to use it as a harassment tool just yet. We'll, of course, spot the Observer as he flies in, and he will get blown away. May even see a turret get dropped here. Probably will have to.
The Observer's getting... Oh, yeah, he's going to take off the turret just to pick off the Observer. Man, he wanted to kill that thing real bad. The Observer gets taken down, but that's okay. It's done its job for the most part. Cloaked Banshee not going to be very effective at getting into the main base. We should see a second Observer coming out quite quickly for ShaDoWn. In fact, he's got 2 more on the map already. So he is well protected against those Cloaked Banshees. And he's actually going to put a bit of pressure here on Ziggy. ShaDoWn in such a good spot this game.
Yeah, definitely. We do have these Blink Stalkers now coming in. There's very little to defend. Sure, there's a tank. It's just one tank. It's just one tank. Oh, Ziggy, this has just not worked out for you, my friend. As you can see, he just doesn't have anything to defend. He barely has energy on his Raven, as that will now hit the 50 mark. And we should see a turret go down. If he loses that Raven, this would be completely over. These Stalkers are just finding so much damage. The other side of the map, the Banshee did go in and pick up a couple of probes. Did it go down for its trouble? Yes, it did. It's just not good here for Ziggy, unfortunately. The supply tells the whole story.
Following my camera, Grant?
Oh, yeah, I did.
I caught all of that stuff on camera, and you're like, did we see it? Come on, man. Have some faith in my observant skills. I'm sorry. I'm a little hurt.
I'm sorry. I completely am not with it, Creighton Olsen.
How could you, Grant? How could you? With suffering from an illness, getting mugged a couple days ago, late start today. How are you not able to... Jeez, you're doing great, man. It's just fine. Robo Bay finished up for ShaDoWn, and the first Colossus is going to start making its way across the map. And, you know, we said it a million different ways, but I don't know if we've just come out and straight up said it. Ziggy is losing this game, and he's doing so hardcore, Grant. There's no other way to say it. There are more polite ways to dress it up. We can talk around it a bit, but it is just a very, very weak position right now for Ziggy. His only saving grace is that he's got +1 finished up, but that is just about it. His army composition not looking great. He's got 4 Marauders mixed in against 2 Immortals, and with shield batteries finishing up the 3rd, he's behind on bases, and he's not even going for the attack here. He's going to wander back across the map. Just not the most effective play we've seen yet from Ziggy. He fought really well in a couple of his other series, but this game, not looking like it's his bag.
No, he just didn't make anything happen earlier. Now the game is very, very much rolling out of his hands. You can see the worker count right now. He's down 21 workers. Double Forge going up right now for our Protoss players too, so upgrades as well will soon take off. Ziggy is starting to produce. Oh my god, he's going to pull the boys against Colossus.
Yeah, he knows it. He knows it's very, very bad position for him. He knows that 3rd base is up. He knows that he hasn't done any economic damage yet. In fact, there's only been 7 probes lost this entire game. And the SCV's been pulled, but there's a Colossus here. Even without extended thermal lens, this is going to be real rough. Nice interference matrix on that first Colossus. He's going to buy Ziggy a little bit of time, but good force fields there are doing the exact counter pressure. And with that shield battery overcharge, ShaDoWn is going to go into this fight with a fully charged up army. Ooh, first Colossus going down a little bit too early here, but I think that ShaDoWn should be able to hold here.
All of a sudden, the army supply is telling a different story. If that Colossus goes down, this game ends. Oh my god, what has just happened?
Yeah, Ziggy's making some good pressure here, and ShaDoWn is losing an awful lot of army supply. The shield battery has been depowered here. He may lose the 3rd base, but look at the other side. Look at the loss of SCVs here. Ziggy down to 9 SCVs. So even if ShaDoWn loses this 3rd base, he's still got his natural to defend. He's still got a lot of stalkers here, and the army deadly overstimmed right now from Ziggy. He's only on 1 tank. His medevacs are almost out of energy, and while he's lost a lot of probes, he's still way ahead in probe production and can continue to crank out units, whereas Ziggy unable to reinforce.
Yeah, that was a lot closer than it had any right to be honest with you. The control of the Colossus was not great here, but now Ziggy is down to 10 workers. Army supply is now finally down. I mean, he has half the supply of that of his opponent. He's going to try and build. He's going to try and play. But with Archons coming in, that changes absolutely everything. Those tanky units that can stop so much of the bio getting forward. Ziggy's going to try. I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe even try and drop. He sees that there is no 4th base. I guess that's something. But he's even producing SCVs now.
It's funny, Grant. It's one of those situations. If you pull up the army supply graph, I don't know if you're able to do that on screen, but if you pull up the army supply graph, you might be like, wow, what an even fight for these 2 players. It looks like their army supply fairly even here. Almost a good fight for our Terran player, who lost a few units later. But you forget that in that he lost all of his SCVs, all of his production, and simply can't muster any more aggression. There's the GG, and ShaDoWn is going to take game number 1 here in our 2nd series of the day.
Yeah, ShaDoWn looked clean beginning to end. Now, there was a small mistake. I think the Colossi control could have been a little better. I liked what Ziggy did. The pull was a lot closer than it could have been.
Yeah, it was one of those 2-phase fights where the opening phase actually looked really, really good for our Terran player. A couple crucial micro mistakes from ShaDoWn, our French Protoss player, losing both Colossi very early. His shield battery overcharge maybe even a bit premature. Hang on just a minute.
Oh no.
There we go. Anyway, his Colossi being pulled a little bit early. Oh, Jesus. And now, okay, there we go. Anyway, his Colossus control losing those a bit early, and it did look like it might be potential aggression, but as we said, we have lost so many workers at that point. It was going to be nigh impossible for Ziggy to come back.
Yeah, he just couldn't get it done. Maybe if he'd have killed a few more stalkers, 4 or 5 more stalkers, that the stalkers he caught in the middle of the map that were recalled, if they'd have died in the middle of the map, the fight when he pulled all the boys could have been a little bit closer, but it just wasn't there, unfortunately. We are just waiting for everyone to get in. Ziggy has decided he doesn't want to be blue, he wants to be gold. I respect
he was
that.
actually red last game. I was just trying to keep an eye on that. It's so frustrating when these players change colors on us. Just as observers, because there's, it's really good to keep a cohesive storyline throughout. I'm going to ask one more time. All right, we're good to go now. Thank goodness. I'm not trying to yell at the players or anything. But yes. Goodness gracious. All right, we're finally getting into game number 2 here. Eternal Empire LE. Grant, in your expert opinion, what chance does Ziggy have to come back in this game? What does he need to do to try and put points on the board here, aside from not building one proxy barracks and letting his SCV get picked off?
I think the first thing and most important thing Ziggy needs to do is get out of his own head. Because right now, he's 0-7 in maps. He's, he's very close to going 0-4. He needs to trust himself. He qualified for this tournament. He deserves to be here. And it's very, very important for him to have a little bit of faith, I would say. So let's just make sure we get these scores right.
Those are the wise words of a good coach. Have a bit of faith in your own abilities, mate. You qualified through a gruesome 3-day qualifier to get here. You've certainly earned your place on this stage. And this player, in the top right-hand side, needs to believe in himself like the moral of every children's story. It is a red Terran player representing Poland. His name is Ziggy.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side of Eternal Empire, he is the blue Protoss player from France. It's ShaDoWn.
Yeah, ShaDoWn looking really, really solid here in game number 1. Just no gaps in his armor at all. Of course, ShaDoWn, much like our players last series, is currently 1-2 in Group B. So if he wins this, he has a chance to go up to 2-2. And interestingly, ShaDoWn has already played some of the really difficult players in this bracket. He's beaten Braddock, but unfortunately, he lost, of course, to Harstam and Petit Drogo. He does still have Thermal and Hero Marine left to go, which is a very, very rough gauntlet. But yeah, every single group here in DreamHack EU is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, this group is definitely, arguably the hardest. This Protoss and Terran group here is always going to be very, very difficult. He's still got a lot to give, though. As I said earlier in the broadcast, his favourite matchup, the matchup that he is best at, is Terran versus Zerg, and he didn't get a chance to show any of that. I'm always going to have this guy's back because I love him. He is going to go for a CC this game. He's not going to go for any proxy shenanigans. Go back to what he qualified with here, which is solid understanding of the matchup and doing his absolute best. We're seeing a very standard opening here as well from ShaDoWn. And we'll definitely look like we'll be going into an early game. There's no way, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Ziggy scouting for a proxy in the top here. I actually thought for just a second that was a probe and he was going for the fastest third CC in the world. And I was just going to cry. Yeah, both players very, very safe in this matchup. They know how important it is. For Ziggy, just to get on the board, and for ShaDoWn, if he wants to advance, he cannot lose to Ziggy, and he needs every map as well, because it could come down to that. You can see the naturals.
Absolutely.
Carry on, Britton.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to prevent you from, give you some time to take some deep breaths in between all this casting. I know how difficult it is to cast if you're not feeling 100% healthy, and I always feel like if I have some time that I can stop, it's hard to solo cast because it's always nice to have some time to stop and like take some deep breaths, sort of center yourself and try and push on. As always, Grant, if you need any time to take a break and just run production stuff, I'm happy to do anything that would make you feel a little safer. I know you are. I know you're good, Grant. That's why you're here with me on the B stream. Adept going to sneak in here, but Ziggy is not going to have any of it. First two Mad Max Hellions do pop out. 1-1-1 for Ziggy, very standard. But yeah, as we should just take a minute to appreciate how good do these Mad Max Hellions look. They are one of my favorite skins in the game.
Yeah, I agree. That and the old school Brood War carriers, to me, are the two coolest skins. Definitely.
The ones that just look like
they look like zeppelins. Like,
I was about to say exactly that word.
They're so
they
good.
Look like old-timey blimps, and they were so fearsome, right? And I remember in Brood War, I had nightmares when I was playing Brood War about like how good carriers were. They were the ultimate unit in every game because if you played those, 20-minute no rush big game hunters, dollar sign matches, you just expected carriers every game, and now the new carriers look all sleek and futuristic, and it's very odd. I love them. But yeah, you're right. Ziggy going for these Cloaked Banshees yet again here in game number 2. We saw this opener in game number 1, and his Cloaked Banshees, let's be honest, completely feckless. They didn't do anything in game number 1. But this game, there's no Robo, there's no Stargate. They might have a chance at sneaking in and doing a bit of damage. And as I say it, the Robo goes down for ShaDoWn.
Yeah, the timing, though, is still going to be pretty good here for Ziggy, and this time he didn't have to slow anything down because he didn't go for that proxy racks that failed to a degree. So I like where Ziggy is right now. His work account he's continuing to produce SCVs a couple at a time. He's getting siege tank production. He's getting a bunker as to not take too much damage, and we can see Cloaking Field is finishing off here. There is no observer. There is nothing. This is going to force a big pull right now down in the natural.
Definitely ShaDoWn not prepping to solve, dropping that shield battery as the first Banshee shots, continuing to rocket down. He's going to try and blink underneath this Banshee to try and scare it away, but I think Ziggy has called his bluff here, and he realizes, no, you definitely don't have a robo down yet. You definitely don't have an observer out, and he's going to head straight into the main and continue his reign of terror here. 8 kills, 9 kills, 10 kills, Grant.
Yeah, this is absolutely exactly what Ziggy needed, and this will build his confidence again. This will go, okay, do this. Look how much damage I've done. Now Ziggy is ahead in workers. He also has mules. He will probably lose this Banshee, but it did everything it needed to. It saw everything. It killed 11 workers. And so far, if you look at the resources lost tab, you can see, sure, he lost a little bit of gas because he did lose a Hellion as well, but 11 probes is such a huge amount. With mules on top, Ziggy's economy is going to be bigger. It's going to be stronger. And has he made a third CC? Yes, that is now in production as well. I really like Ziggy's position.
Are you still following my camera, Grant?
Yep.
All right, good. Just making sure. I was like focused on the third CC. Just you're like, has he built a third CC? And I was like, come on, man.
Honestly, I didn't even see it there.
You know, I have that problem too sometimes where I will be like, as a caster, I'll be like, well, where's his engineering bay? I don't see his engineering bay. There's no engineering bay on the map, and it's right on my screen, and all of chat is losing their minds at how bad of a caster I am. It can be very tough to keep an eye on every single thing happening. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't lost you. Ziggy moving back into the natural, but this time there is a shield battery here. The shield battery, of course, not going to be valuable against double Banshee, because Banshees can one-shot these probes, and there's still no observer, there's still no stalkers. Gonna force another warp in back home for ShaDoWn.
Hyper flight rotors coming in as well. Look how many workers have gone down again. It's 10. Ziggy's just killed every probe on the natural almost.
This is unbelievably well done by Ziggy here. Look at the total probes lost count, 24, 25. The natural under siege from these Hellions, 18 going down. These Mad Max Hellions absolutely destroying everything. Their body is chrome, I think, and there's nothing to be done to stop them.
And this is what I really wanted to see. This is the Ziggy that I was hoping would show up, because he's so good at finding this damage, at finding this aggression. And I do think maybe he got in his own head a little bit after things started off a little bit sour. And then he was sick on day 2. And I'm all for understanding that right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is phenomenal.
It's good to see him getting this third base. These Stalkers are going to try and pressure a little bit, I think. Even with Blink, they're going to have a hard time, though. There are 3 tanks up here. Only 1 tank sieged up, though. Is he going to blink? No, he's not going to blink aggressively. I thought he might try and jump onto those tanks and maybe sack some of the Stalkers to pick off some of the firepower. But Ziggy doing a good job staying very active, going into mech from here with his double armory going down. And we see those 3 factories now churning away. And I love that he's doing the hyperflight rotors and he's continuing Banshee production. A lot of players will make the hyperflight rotors, and then if they lose a Banshee or 2, they'll drop out of it. They'll be like, nah, all right, whatever. I've lost a Banshee. I'm not going to keep up with it. That's just a lost investment at this point. But I love that Ziggy is keeping up with it. Those Banshees not just adding a bunch of harassment potential, but adding a lot of DPS.
Yeah, once you get to 4 or 5 Banshees, they can really stand and fight against ground units that the Protoss produces. They're very, very strong alongside Bio. Because they attack so fast and they do a lot of damage to Stalkers. If there's sentries and things as well, they can pick them off. They force target fire. That won't otherwise be hitting the Marines and the tanks. You can't blink forward because then you can't blink away from them. So I like what Ziggy's doing, and the supply's telling a very, very heavy story right now. Ziggy's up in workers still. Look, he's mining 4,200 minerals a minute to the 2,300. He's mining a lot of gas. He has a nice number of workers. A few feedbacks going in, but look, he's still high tempers.
That's right. Sniping the energy on those Banshees for the actual cost of High Templars, that is really, really difficult to deal with here. Ziggy getting some nice pickoffs here. ShaDoWn has been trying to rebuild his probe count. He is grabbing a 4th base now, making probes 3 at a time. No 4th yet for Ziggy. The longer the game goes on, the more chances ShaDoWn has to deal with this pressure. But Ziggy is in a fantastic position right now. Look at that army supply graph. We can see from 3 minutes ago, ShaDoWn trying to recover from that economic damage earlier, and Ziggy really capitalizing.
Yeah, he's continuing to play this out very smart. You can see the upgrades are starting to get rolling as well, as he is building +1 ship weapons, +1 ship armor. He's adding in Blue Flame. He's getting everything he needs, all the extra factories, and this mech style for Ziggy working very well. Look how many tanks he has. We're looking at 11 siege tanks right now, and I'd love to see, yeah, this is it. I want to see him push. Be aggressive, Ziggy. Close. Because the hardest thing when you're a bit ahead and you've already had a hard time is going, I have the confidence to go and close this out. Oh my god, that stalker vanished.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely correct. There's nothing like Alec Baldwin's inspirational speech from Glengarry Glen Ross. A always, B B, C closing. Always be closing. And Ziggy needs to get some coffee in his hands right now, because coffee is for closers only.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What? You have no idea what I'm talking about? You've never seen Alec Baldwin's speech from Glengarry Glen Ross?
I know who Alec Baldwin is, but that is all I've got from this.
It's like the best 8 minutes of business cinema that has ever happened. Please get on YouTube right after this and watch it.
I'll do it during the game. Let's pause.
Just ask the players really quickly. Hang on, guys. Grant needs to be educated culturally. Screw this Banshee attack. 6 more probes going down. Nobody cares. We need to learn more about Glengarry Glen Ross and Alec Baldwin's amazing 8-minute speech, for which he was almost nominated for an Oscar after being on stage for only 8 minutes. Incredible stuff. Anyway, we'll talk about that later, Grant, because Ziggy is actually closing this out. He is A always, B B, C closing this game out. He's going to go into the bottom 6 o'clock base, I think, and put on pressure there. Doesn't know that the additional base is down for ShaDoWn yet, but ShaDoWn has bounced back from this. His probe count almost even. His army supply a little behind, but fairly close. But I don't know if he's got a chance against this many tanks, man.
And the Hellbats coming in as well. These very, very cute Mad Max Hellions going to pull ShaDoWn out of position as Ziggy sieges up, and he doesn't have to move forward with 1 or 2 tanks at a time. He can move 5 or 6 at a time because he has so many. This base is about to absolutely vanish. You can see Blue Flame is done, the work is going down. Ziggy is up 20 supply. We have our Protoss trying to set up a surround by the looks of things. There's so many tanks though, and the Hellions are so fast. They're like F1 cars. Look at them go. Oh, he's going to try and take down the High Templars as well. This is so nice. A Storm pushed out. That's fine. You're using a Storm and losing a High Templar on the Banshees, which aren't the scariest thing right now. The second and third one's a little bit better. Do manage to take out one of these Banshees, but right now, I just don't know how. Look at the tank line.
Yeah, the tank line, very terrifying. Right now, what ShaDoWn needs to do is get some charge lots on both sides, come in from both angles, try and distract the tank fire just a little bit. So what he's got to do is make sure that not all the tanks are firing on the same target at the same time. If all those tanks, I said 10, it's actually 16. If all 16 tanks, all 16 tanks in the field of tanks right now can attack one thing at a time, it's going to evaporate like cotton candy in water. But he can separate out and go for a couple of the tanks at the same time, and this is exactly what he's going to do, setting up a surround on all different sides here. Immortals from the west flank, Stalkers from the east-west flank, Immortals from the east flank, and I think ShaDoWn is going to be able to clear up this tank line pretty well, actually, and take pretty heavy losses. But look at the units that Ziggy lost there. An awful lot of tanks going down, and that was a great engagement from ShaDoWn.
Yeah, ShaDoWn was able to build up a hefty army of Immortal and Archon, and they do a pretty decent job of taking down siege tanks because they don't take too much damage themselves. Now, we do see ShaDoWn going for a push to the other side of the map, but there's 4s already here. I'd like to see possibly Cyclones begin producing pretty soon. They are very good against the standing army here of ShaDoWn, and Ziggy did get the upgrade for it, right? Yes, he did. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe that. The Banshees have just been a nuisance. I want to talk about the workers lost in this game. Give me a Control R, Creighton Olsen.
Control R, you got it. Can you see that?
I see that. Well, no, I can see it because I've got it open. But 54 workers killed to zilch.
Nice run. That number only going to continue to climb
it's
here.
only going to go up.
Clearing out one of the bases. Dear goodness gracious, this is getting worse and worse for ShaDoWn. You know, that tank cleanup he had earlier was great. He did break the contain, but his army supply dipped precipitously because of it, and he was never able to recover from. I know you shouted during the match about those poor probes that had gotten roasted trying to transfer down back to that 6 o'clock base. Yeah, and that certainly was another big win for Ziggy right now. Ziggy in a commanding position this game. I don't see a way that ShaDoWn can win this unless Ziggy, I don't know, keeps all his tanks unsieged, forgets about his Thors, and maybe goes to sneeze in the middle of a really big fight.
Oh my god, the High Templars as well being chased down by Blue Flame Hellions. They are going to be able to get out, but he loses a couple. Nice Storms there to start the fight off, but now the 4s are going to start firing, raining down thunder on the on the Archons, and those Archons do not want to stand in front of this many single target mode 4s because they will decimate them. They do so much single target damage. You see one shot is like a third of their shields, and when you got 10 of them, I mean, do the math. That's like 104 dead Archons a second.
Gonna kill that Archon 4 times over if my math is correct. Wow. Tank sieged up now for Ziggy, and it's just a matter of time before ShaDoWn has to try and desperately engage with this. He's setting up for another nice multi-pronged surround. He's got some units up here on the south, on the west side, some units on the east side, and he's going to come in from both angles, again, distracting that tank fire. If he can clean this up, he's got a shot, but I don't know. There's just so much here from Ziggy right now, Grant.
Yeah, the main problem he's going to have is that the 4s are still standing pretty strong, at least a couple of them. And you can see the supply right now, double the army supply for Ziggy. And sure, he's been cleaned up again, but more workers have been done. We already have the next force moving in. These Banshees are just relentless. They are absolutely gross right now. Ziggy's playing so well in this game. And he has thrown away some armies he probably didn't want to throw away. But in terms of resources lost, he is still ahead. And his army is still very, very strong. 3-3 on the way right now as well for our Terran player. And once that hits, I mean, it's just +2 weapons here for our Protoss. No shield upgrades, no armor, excuse me. And I think we'll see Ziggy go for a big timing now with 3-3 to close this out.
I think so. Now, Grant, you watch football, right?
What do we mean?
Proper British football, yes. Right? Excellent. I was just clarifying. Now, I haven't watched a football match on TV for a long time. During the footy, did they show really obscure statistics about every player? Are they like, this player scored 6 goals from this particular spot since 1984, but only when he bound his left leg with this particular brand of athletic tape?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I was just thinking it'll check for our international viewers, because they do the same thing in American football where they're like, on drop plays, the wide receivers catch this ball 46% of the time if it's thrown at a 6-degree angle or less, that kind of nonsense. I really wish we had some of those stats for these StarCraft matches. Notably, I want to know how many of these Blue Flame Hellions have killed these probes before dying them. Like what the average probe kill count is on a Blue Flame Hellion for a run by. I also want to know how many probes have been roasted by these Banshees alone.
God. 95 probes killed to 0 SCVs. That is immense. As we do have the fight now loading up here down in the middle of the map towards the south side. I mean, Ziggy has almost every base on the top side. And we do have ShaDoWn trying to match him. His worker count is still good, but army supply is now 91 to 125. 3-3 has finished. And that means these vehicles, these Met army are going to do so much damage to everything. You can see, just watch this Archon disappear. Where'd he go? Playing hide and seek at a DT? No, of course it's not. Now the Storms are pretty good. The Immortals doing everything they can, but they are all going to go down. The tanks in the back are just doing too much damage. That's now going to come in and try and clean up, and there'll be a little bit of friendly fire. It does look like maybe again it's be cleaned up. No, the tanks are going to unsiege, split up a little bit, and GG, Ziggy gets his first map of the tournament. Wow, and a well-earned map it was. Ziggy certainly earning that one. Very well done by Ziggy. I always say, people often ask me, Grant, who do you cheer for in a StarCraft game? And I say, I want a good game, and I'll be danged if that wasn't the best game we've seen so far today. Grant. Guys, we've lost Grant. We got to form a search party for Grant. We found him. Oh, he's back. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, Grant. I was just saying, that was the best game we've seen all day. A well-earned win by Ziggy. Yeah, very, very nice. I mean, he just played as easily as he would. I'm just getting back into StarCraft, guys, for some reason, like every 5 games. Only when I'm observing, my StarCraft stops responding after. Oh, hey, Grant, we're losing you again, buddy. Sorry about that. And when I come into game, apparently. Game 3 will be coming in. That's actually a little bit rude here. Our admin has already queued up the next series of you Thermal versus Braddock. I think you might be suspecting that Ziggy lost game 2 or making a bit of a mistake. That's a little bit rough. Ziggy taking this game 2. Phenomenal stuff. Poor guy. So we are going to get into game 3, which is going to be, Grant, on Pillars of Gold. Now, Grant, we've seen some really cool Pillars of Gold maps. I'm trying to think back specifically who it was, but it's so tough when you cast, 6 games a day. Yeah. 14 days in a row. I think it was Stefano. We saw a really interesting Braddock game on Pillars of Gold. We've seen a few really fascinating games that are taking advantage
of some of these really interesting maps. And the more I see of Pillars of Gold, the more I like of it.
Yeah, definitely. It is slightly janky. You do see some strange things going on. I really like this for the way that Ziggy's going to play, which isn't going to be meta. It isn't going to be that standard. Creighton Olsen, you talk quickly. I need to open the window because it's like 900
No problem, Grant. You do everything you need to do. For those of you who don't know, guys, Grant is doing production. He's doing some admin stuff. He's talking to the admins. He's running all the broadcast stuff in the background, as well as casting these. He is working way harder than I am right now. So good on Grant. You take all the time you need, buddy. I love Ziggy is just changing all his colors little by little just to wait to see if he can get red. There it is. He's going to take blue and red. Excellent stuff. But yeah, as we were saying, Pillars of Gold, a fascinating map, Grant, and we've seen some good games on it. I love the current map pool. I'm a little sad Golden Wall still isn't getting the love it deserves. But all these games, phenomenal stuff. So we're going to get into game number 3 now. It's going to be Pillars of Gold with Ziggy and ShaDoWn. Grant, what does your gut say? Who's taking this one?
The gut says I named my dog after the correct person. And that is Ziggy. Ziggy is the name of my dog. If you don't follow me on Twitter, every time I tweet anything, I attach a picture of my dog. Because he's cute. Okay, we are now getting into it. It is 1-1 in the bottom left-hand side here of Pillars of Gold. One of the rarest maps we've seen in this tournament. He is the blue Protoss player from France. It's ShaDoWn.
That's right. And his Polish opponent in the top right-hand side in the red. Currently teamless. His name is Ziggy.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Love the old skins that Ziggy's using, by the way. We saw the Brood War probes earlier in our previous series, and now we see the Brood War Command Center, the Brood War SCVs, all of it. Very old school. Now, Grant, tell me, was Ziggy a Brood War player himself?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not 100% certain if he was particularly successful, but he wasn't a Brood War player. He still is a Brood War player, and I believe he still competes. I know he's very, very keen on the scene and follows it pretty extensively and writes about it for TL.net and Liquipedia. Yeah, he certainly is a big Brood War fan, so it's nice to see that here. I wish we had Brood War skins all around, you know?
Someday a man can dream. It's either that or Carbot skins. Either way, I'm happy with casting a match. I tried to watch a match casted in all Carbot skins, and it was a nightmare.
It's so hard.
It reminded me of the Diablo, the
cow
Diablo
level.
3. Yeah, the new cow level in Diablo 3, where it's like Horseyville or Pony something or Chattel. Chattel, tell me what it actually is. I haven't played D3 in so long. But something like that, I was like, oh, it's just like a vomit of rainbow poop and unicorn hair. Like I can't even deal with this right now. So what a fun skin. Natural coming down here as the Reaper expand comes out from Ziggy. ShaDoWn getting the early expand down as well. Another standard game here. Is that going to favor ShaDoWn since he's the stronger macro player, or is it going to favor Ziggy, who is showing some really solid micro there in games 1 and 2?
Now, I will say, Ziggy is certainly not going to play the standard. There was just no way he was going to go 1-1-1 without going for either Banshees or maybe even Raven Harass. Something a bit janky, something a bit funky, something new age. He is going for a 2-1-1 this game, so he's going to be aggressive. Ziggy is probably going to go for a 2-1-1 with an early SCV pull. But what he needs to do right now is just not take damage and not get scouted. He's getting a probe with his Reaper.
Yeah, he's going to get 1 kill at least here. Second one should get zoned out by this Adept, who will finish his Shade, get 1 shot off. But
nice
still
control.
no tier 2 tech out from Ziggy. And this Reaper will escape with its life, which is nice. It can
Oh my
pop
god,
back
it's a
in
free racks.
later. And yeah, you're absolutely right. While his Reaper is causing some consternation on the far left-hand side of the map with the Twilight Council going down for ShaDoWn, Ziggy 3 racksing it up.
Okay, so what we're going to be seeing here is we're going to see... we're definitely going to see Stim. We will probably see concussive shells as well as a second tech lab should go down on this barracks. And Ziggy is going to be looking to be very, very aggressive. He is still producing SCVs, but not a massive amount. He is only producing 1 at a time right now. There goes Stim. Is it a tech lab? Yes, so it is going to be Stim and I would imagine concussive shells. You do see sometimes, or and +1. Okay, so we've seen this timing before. So it's a +1, 3 racks push. Now, 2 Marines, does that show? No, showing 5 Marines shows this is definitely a 2 racks. But the free Rex is still relatively unknown.
I'm not sure if you saw those 2 Marines in the back. Remember, the vision of his shade is very, very
Oh,
limited.
that's very true.
Those 2 Marines in the back. 3 Marines still might be a bit of a tell that you got a couple extra racks out, but not 100%. There are a couple of builds where you can get 3 Marines out early, even if you're going for tanks or even a hiding a Banshee somewhere. So it is going to be Stim. It is going to be +1. And then, yeah, as you said, probably Concussive Shell should be coming out soon. Adding in some Marauders to really increase the bulk of your army, increase the health of your army. Okay. But it's not going to be Concussive Shells. He's going instead for Combat Shields.
Yeah, so what happens here is as soon as Stim finishes, then he will probably begin Concussive Shells for like a wave 2, so to speak. There is, of course, no tech behind this. There is no factory. There is no starport. What he has is what he has. And Blink is pretty good against this if, and it's a big if, the Stalkers are out on the map, because the Stalkers have to buy time. We see ShaDoWn immediately throwing down a battery. That's smart. And there's his Robotics Bay. He has the tools he needs to defend, but he has to do it smart. He has to be on the map and buy time with his Stalkers, and that's what we're going to see him do now.
We see a huge move out right now from Ziggy. All his units starting across the map. There are a couple of Marauders mixed in, but not as many as I would have expected here. But as you said, ShaDoWn saw this. He's got the shield battery down at the natural. First Immortal is on the map. No, First Immortal is on the way out of the map right now. But you're right. His only opportunity to get the Immortal out, to maybe get a Colossus out in time, is to keep these Stalkers picking off these units one by one, kiting them back and trying to soften up the army of Ziggy just a little bit. But Ziggy has a massive army supply advantage right now. Well, he did until the warp in. But should be able to add on a couple more units here very quickly and should have a chance at breaking this. It's going to be very difficult up against the shield battery and the Immortal, though.
Ziggy's army is out and out. If you were to take a straight up fight in the middle of the map, Ziggy's army is stronger. He has +1. He can't lose the Marauder. He has +1. He has Stim. And Ziggy's been very, very mature. He's had great... I can't think of the word I'm looking for. He's held back on stimming. He hasn't done it yet. Discipline is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Creighton Olsen. English is such a hard language. But I am starting to worry. He is getting Concussive Shells, as I said, and +1 armor. He is starting to try and transition out of this as well, because he's not found any damage. And his worker count is good. So this isn't the end of the world for Ziggy, but I would like to see him try and cancel this third, definitely.
Yeah, he's making a good timing for it. Ziggy reading the situation fairly well. Gets into the third base, but there's the first Stim. Sees some decent forcement, actually. Separating out some of those units, forcing them into a bit of a tight line, and that's going to drive them back. He took a lot of damage. In fact, if you look at the army supply graph, you're going to see that ShaDoWn took almost no damage from that, and Ziggy has been reset to 31 army supply. Disastrous attack, forcing a Stim out. The force field's doing some damage, and now... Is he attacking his own observer? He just picked off his own observer.
A little bit of a misclick there from ShaDoWn. We are seeing Ziggy stand and fight. He's going to lose a few Marines here. He's going to lose a lot of Marines here. And Ziggy right now needs to be focused on defending, because there is going to be a push coming his way. There's no doubt about it. He has a third CC. He has everything he needs, but this defense is going to be so difficult. Is Zealot legs done? No. Okay, so that's a positive. It's not even started, actually. So it is only going to be Blink Stalkers and maybe a Colossus. Actually, the 2 Colossus currently sitting at home. They're now going to make their way across the map. But there's not going to be Vikings. There's really very little in terms of defensive tools right now for Ziggy. He needs like 3 minutes. If Ziggy can buy 3 minutes, he'll be great. You can see he's adding in a lot of missile turrets too, even in the front of his natural in case the Colossus were to push up there, and just to get observers, drops, things like that. But Ziggy, yeah, this is what he needs. He can't lose units. He's going to immediately abandon his third and fly back home. I just don't know, man.
Yeah, he knows he's in a lot of hot water right now. Force Field's going to zone out that army for the most part, losing 10, 12, 15 SCVs right away. The third base forced to fly back home. And this is something we don't see a lot right now in modern TVP, is that overstimming is a real problem. I remember the early days of StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty. A lot of times, casters were very quick to say, he's overstimmed his army. He's stimmed too much. He's too excited about it. Nice Force Fields keep the SCVs way down. The Colossus not focus firing down the army, actually.
This isn't the worst thing I've seen.
Still alive, and it's just not going to be enough. The Stalker's here to pick off the medevacs. The medevac getting picked off mid-air as well. And even though those Colossi were misfiring, a third one's going to join the fight, and things are going from bad to worse for Ziggy.
Yeah, we see the Colossi now. They're going to be able to walk up the ramp. The missile turret is annoying, but there's just nothing here. There's no tanks. Vikings only now coming in. 27 SCVs went down. Look at the reinforcements coming in. Stalkers galore. A Prism as well. Actually, it looks like ShaDoWn's going to go home. I think he just wants to be 102% sure. A very intelligent man once said, "One ahead, get more ahead." Thanks, Latosis. And right now, that's what ShaDoWn's going to do. He has +2 on the way. He's getting Zealot legs. He's getting gates. He's getting Colossus. He's getting everything.
Yeah, and Ziggy simply doesn't have any gas in the tank left. He started 2-2, he's only on 43 workers, and those are crowded onto one base that's mined out and a second base that's halfway mined out. So yeah, as you said, ShaDoWn just spending some time to get more ahead right now, adding on the Templar Archives. I love that he's keeping his Colossus number fairly low. He knows the Vikings must be on the way, but it's only 2 Vikings right now. But yeah, adding in those charged, are they charged lots yet? Yeah, they are charged zealots, bulking up his ground army a bit. And ShaDoWn in a really strong position. I know I asked this question a lot, but is there any way, Grant, that you could foresee Ziggy coming back into this game?
Do you want the real answer or the caster answer?
I want the real answer, Grant. That's what we're here for.
I really think he's going to struggle right now. His army supply is low. He does have 2 Vikings, but 2 Vikings isn't really enough for 2 Colossus. He wants to be at 6. These Vikings are super sexy, by the way. I love this skin too. But Archons, he doesn't have Ghosts. I don't even think he's even anywhere near having Ghosts, no. He's going to add on Widow Mines. That could be nice as well. He can't take any damage from the drops. Ziggy just needs ShaDoWn to do nothing, and ShaDoWn is marching. He's got his marching orders. He's moving across the map, looking for damage. And right now, I mean, with a perfect concave, with a perfect fight, with the Colossus going down early, with the Zealots being kited, maybe, but he is losing workers in the main.
Yeah, we see these Zealots taking out a lot of SCVs here. The army trying to transition over to take care of the drop, but unfortunately that means it's going to set up a really nice swipe area for these Colossus to just shell down these units, and we're going to see ShaDoWn making the March of Death, and there it is.